My name is Russ Goodwin. I'm a retiree from the United States Navy. I was born in Columbus, Ohio. I went to the Ohio State University. I majored in theater. I was looking around, working in gas stations, pumping gas. It was freezing cold. I said, I need to go someplace warm. So I joined the Navy and went to Great Lakes for boot camp in the middle of the winter. It ended up being the best thing that I ever did. My great-grandfather served in the Civil War. My grandfather on both sides of my family served in World War I. My father was in the Navy. He was a signalman in World War II. All of my uncles, except two, served in World War II. My brother was in the Army during Vietnam. So there's a whole history of military service in my family. I thought about joining the Navy. It always appealed to me more than any other branch. Growing up, I was a swimmer, so I was enamored with the water. I was very open about myself all through high school. No one ever bullied me. I think I've lived kind of a charmed life. I came out right about the time of Stonewall, the riots in New York. I kind of went back in the closet to join the military. Back then you had to check a box that you had never had a homosexual experience, and I checked that box that I had not. Very soon in boot camp, I found other gay sailors. After boot camp, I went to Postal A School, and I was the postman. I went to my first command, which was on board the USS Howard W. Gilmore in La Maddalena, Sardinia. And then I left there, and I went to the San Francisco Bay Area on the USS Kilauea, which was an ammunition ship. And it was the end of the 70s, right before the HIV crisis hit. You're putting a 23-year-old gay man in San Francisco in 1978. It was like heaven. So I'd been there about a month, and my friends and I were at Twin Peaks, a bar at the head of Castro, and I was introduced to Harvey Milk. We talked. He was a great guy. He was nice, friendly, bought me a drink. We're watching TV one day, and it's wall-to-wall coverage of City Hall, and then it came on that Harvey Milk had been killed. So it was a pretty hard week that week. The entire city was in mourning and in shock. And there's a sea of people going up Castro. I'm one of those people in there. So I carried a candle there. It's kind of hard to talk about. But it is a crossroads in history. Harvey Milk was our first nationally known LGBT elected official. And I think had he lived, he would have went on to be a congressman or a senator. I couldn't publicly become active in the LGBT struggle. And that was difficult for me. At this point, Reagan was president. It was still before Don't Ask, Don't Tell, but there were a lot of witch hunts going on. One of the girls that worked for me in Okinawa was lesbian, and she was caught. They put so much pressure on her that she flipped on all of her lesbian friends. They were all discharged. She was allowed to stay in until the end of her enlistment, but not re-enlist. And she was a great sailor. She wanted a career, but she was foreign out because of that. But she took like 15 people out with her. As soon as I got to Okinawa, I met a guy I was with for 16 years, Choshin. We lived relatively openly. I know everyone knew, but nobody said anything. It was just this, I was charmed for some reason. No one said anything. He was the nicest guy you'd ever want to meet. We were together when I left the Navy. We were going to try and get him a green card legally to bring him to this country, but it proved to be impossible. So we were together approximately 2 years of traveling back and forth before we decided it was just too expensive. And we both decided we'd go our separate ways after 16 years. If we could have gotten married the way we had now, we would have probably been married. 1997 was my actual retirement date. Then I went in the Fleet Reserve. And then I did 10 years in the Fleet Reserve, which basically means you're a civilian, but they can call you back. And I got my 30-year paper in January of 2007. Well, I started becoming active mainly because I couldn't get Choshin here. I came to Stonewall, Columbus in 1996 when I came back and said, do you know any immigration lawyers that will work with LGBT couples and international couples? And no one was. But I really got active in about 1999, and a friend of mine took me to a Stonewall Democrats meeting. The more I got involved, the more dedicated I got, and I became the secretary first, and then I became a two-term president. I lived in the 12th Congressional District, and no one would tell me who was running for Congress in the 12th Congressional. So I said, well, I can't let Pat Tiberi go unopposed, who's still in Congress. I said, you know, my life's been an open book. It's out there. Everybody knows, so I'll run. What are they going to do with me? You know, they can't hurt me with this stuff. I got the county endorsement as the congressional candidate, and I ran for Congress on an open LGBT status and with a very progressive, pro-woman, pro-immigrant, pro-LGBT platform. Unfortunately, I didn't win the primary, but I got 35,000 votes. I kind of stepped back from the political world. I served for 2 years as president of the Buckeye Region Anti-Violence Organization. The repeal of Don't Ask, Don't Tell. I'd been working on it for a long time, but I had a new platform after running for Congress. I was more well-known, and I could actually speak to the need for repeal better than most people in the community. So I started going around and talking to people and lobbying. And
so when I started 10 years ago as the executive director, our veterans program was non-existent, really. We had a lot of veterans, I think, that were familiar with the center, but we really didn't have a focus or a purpose for their involvement. And we always really wanted a color guard for the parade. That was very important to all of us, especially to the parade chair, Linda Schuler, who thought that the color guard was what added such a professionalism to the parade. And so getting our veterans together for that was a little bit difficult, but as soon as we got a hold of Russ, he took care of it for us.
Carla called and said, we need a color guard. And I said, let's get all these veterans together, let's put a color guard together. I'll buy the flags. You guys furnish up your uniforms, and we'll march in pride. And we've been doing it now for 6 or 7 years now.
And it really does make you feel good when you see our veterans marching down High Street. And you can see the looks on people's faces when the color guard comes by and they're saluted by the allied community and for folks that are watching. I think it brings a warmth to the spectator experience that is really great.
The feeling you get when you turn the corner on the High Street and you see the sea of people and they start standing up and they start yelling and screaming, and you see veterans along the parade route saluting and tearing up and things. It's amazing.
He made it come out and highlighted it and made it beautiful again. So thank you, Russ.
So we have a veterans group now at Stonewall. Educating the general population never stops. I tell people, if you're not out, fully out, you're not helping. Because once someone meets a gay person, they know a gay person. You come out every day to somebody.
Russ is one of the guys that always takes care of everybody. So I really fear one day that we'll have our Pride Parade and we won't have somebody that will take care of the color guard, or the one that will be there to arrange everybody and send out an email and try to organize everybody. And that's something that Russ has always been instrumental in taking care of all of us. And it's just something that I appreciate so much that he does. And Russ just has an incredible story to tell. It's been profound to kind of listen to the things that he's talked about over his life. And he's had a distinguished career in a time when it just wasn't popular to be out and be gay. I love you, Russ, so much. I appreciate everything that you do. You are just absolutely awesome. You're great for our veterans community. You're great for our LGBT community. and you just keep doing everything that you do. You're awesome.
A year ago, I went online and I was just chit-chatting with people. You know, it was just talking, and Matt popped up. And he was so interesting and so colorful. He's a singer, a songwriter. He sent me some of his music and it was amazing. We clicked immediately in person, so we started traveling back and forth, mostly him traveling from Chicago to Columbus, and I went up to Chicago. He moved in on July 4th of this year. It's a continuation of the Charmed Life. He's just a great guy. I hope everybody gets a chance to meet him in Columbus because I'm very proud of him.